listeners. Welcome to October. We're so happy you joined us, and this evening we have a special guest for you. Her name is Ruth Finlay, not Findlay, but Finlay. And she's going to share with us her story, her journey of how she got to be sitting with us today. So we want to welcome you, Ruth. Thank you so much for accepting our invite to come and share with our listeners. And without further ado, I'm going to ask you to share with us a little bit about your childhood. Where did you grow up? How did you get to the United States of America?
First, thank you so much for having me on your podcast this evening. Thanks for that pleasure. My name is Ruth Finley. Some do know me as Joy. And I am a registered nurse by profession. I did a master's degree in nursing with specialization in healthcare education, and I taught nursing at the local university for a few years. And then I did a doctoral degree in nursing and worked and taught for a while, and here I am today. First of all, she asked me about where did I grow up. I am from Jamaica, the Caribbean island of Jamaica. And most of my experience would be colored by my upbringing in Jamaica. But I've been living in the United States for many, many years. Many years. So I am conversant in both cultures.
Awesome. So that's nice. So you originally came from Jamaica. You're here in the United States and you did nursing.
That's correct.
Did you study nursing here or in Jamaica?
Interesting question. In Jamaica, I did banking. I worked in the banking industry.
Okay, so there's another piece.
Yes, banking and finance. And when I
Wow.
left Jamaica, I went to New York. I did trading and so on.
Wow.
But nursing, and it will be shown in my book. And this is how our experience colors who we are. When I was a child, my grandmother became ill, and she was always a very active, independent woman, but she had to come and live with our family. And when she came to live with us, she was a humorous bank of knowledge. She was fun. She taught us a lot of things that we would not have learned otherwise. And I had the privilege of taking care of her. So during that journey of caring for her, I developed a real love of caring. That's when I think the caring aspect of my personality came out. So we started our education. I started my education there, but then we left Jamaica. So I did not finish it there. And life is not linear. It's not a straight line.
Right.
So we ended up doing banking, doing this, starting a company with my family. But life has a way of bringing us full circle. And so we see how people overcome struggles and challenges, but maintain joy. And so this podcast emphasizes enrichment and empowerment. Talk to my mother, a real Jamaican. You see how you overcome issues, overcome challenges, use the skills that you have, and still remain joyful, not be overcome by them, but struggle through them, overcome them, and still have enough joy in your heart to share with others and make your environment a really joyful one.
So how did you go from banking to nursing?
Well, as I said, originally taking care of my grandmother, I think it birthed that emotion inside of me. Like eventually this is really what I wanted to do. So although I went to school and I studied finance, there wasn't a passion. It felt like I was doing a job. And I wanted to, we talk about our purpose in life. And when I am caring for someone, I feel actualized. I feel as if I am really authentic. I am bringing myself through to simple things, the caring, the respect, the nurturing. And those, I think, just embodied my personality. And eventually I said, this is time. I have kind of danced around it for a little bit. And eventually I heard that there were, and I was even working in the bank here in South Florida. And I was in school doing another program in finance. And I sat there and I said, you've been doing this for a while. Is this really what you want to do? And I signed up for nursing, and they accepted me.
That is amazing.
Yes.
So just like that, grappling with the reality of a life of finance that I'm sure you did well in, but
I
it
did.
felt like a job.
Yeah.
And just there in the middle of another finance class,
Yeah.
you just knew, I need to accomplish
Yeah.
my purpose. I'm going to sign up for nursing.
Yeah.
And they accepted you.
And they accepted me, and it was a time when acceptance in nursing was challenging because, you have to jump through some hoops, and I was doing A&P for the first time. I mean, I did chemistry in high school and so on, and that was fine. But I did it, and it's not like I was failing in finance. I was doing good in finance and doing well too. But I did the first A&P and anatomy and physiology. Thank you. Anatomy and physiology, and I did all the entry courses. And they accepted me. I actually got into the program like in the first. Interestingly, I'll tell you this: the bank I was in was folding at the time, and I continued working at the bank, and I started nursing at the same time.
Wow.
So, and then it just transitioned into nursing. And to age myself, that's been about 30 years now. And nursing has been good to me over the years. And I really would not reverse that. That's where it comes to your passion, your calling, your how you serve others is really what it comes to. And I believe we're not just here to earn money for ourselves, which is important, but we are here as a community. And as a community, how do you serve your fellow person? How do you serve your neighbors? How do you serve your community?
So,
And-
may I ask if you're currently working for a company or you're currently working for yourself? You're self-employed as a nurse.
That's a very interesting question because it brings me to how I've evolved. I've done a number of areas in nursing. As I said, I taught for a while. I worked in the ICU for a number of years, and even in case management for a number of years. And it occurred to me, especially during the pandemic, what happened was that I started experiencing a lot of crises, a lot of personal crises, health issues with my daughter, personal health issues and challenges. And interestingly, I did, when my capstone dissertation in nursing, I did it on crises and how the crises affect healing in patients, in the inpatient population. And it's another aha moment. It connected with me because I found that a lot of people struggle because they don't have the tools to get through whatever experiences that they're going through. And it occurred to me that not only did my research uncover a lot of information, but our shared stories of how we've overcome. Each of us sitting here in this panel have stories, and they are our unique stories, unique to each one of us. And as we share that body of stories, we empower, we enrich the lives of others who hear these stories and say, aha, that's what I can use. I can tweak that. I can personalize that story. And this is how I can get through whatever experience we're going through. We're in a unique time where a lot of people are experiencing job loss. They're experiencing death from COVID and other situations, you know. And as we share our stories, they said, a portion of your story, a portion of her story, I could use that to help me get beyond this roadblock that I'm in and live an enriched life, live a fuller life, or return to the joy that I once experienced. So it leads us to vulnerability because we are exposing our stories. But if you look beyond that vulnerability and realize that not only you're enriching a generation to come. Mm-hmm. And that empowers, enriches the lives of other people. And that really motivated me to compile it in a book. And this book is tools, not academic, practical experiences of others, the extracted practical component of research. So you're getting high quality information that is reusable, can be repurposed, and can get you from where you are now to where you want to be or where God intends for you to be.
But are you working for yourself?
I have designed a consultant company, and so and this brings you to another component of Ruth, is that I did, when I went through a component of my journey, the healthcare system embraced integrative care. You ask, what is integrative care? So in addition to the traditional modality of care, they integrated the use of natural remedies to prevent, to offset or prevent the excess use. For instance, if you have chronic pain, instead of using just pain medications, there are natural remedies, and they're integrative physicians. So I studied that. I studied that, and I found that I could be a broader use to the community then by sharing that body of knowledge, pairing it with my years of experience in nursing, and be a help to someone.
So you're basically self-employed?
Yes, I am.
So in your book, I know you said it's not academic, but does it include the integral part of medicine as well as far as the tips and tools?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That's great.
Yes, so it's blended. It's blended because we never, first of all, you never neglect the advice of your primary care provider or your physician. That's guide. But in addition to that, you empower yourself. If something should happen to you right here, as we're sitting, say we went out to lunch and you begin to choke on a cut of steak, would the people around you know how to help you? Really simple.
Yes.
So I in the book, I do emphasize the importance of training, learning certain skills that can not only help yourself, but can help other people. So I say, and when you have that training, you realize you have a kind of peace in yourself that the anxiety level is, oh my goodness, what would I do if?
Right.
What would I do if something happens? You have a kind of peace because we have a first aid kit at home. You know what I mean? Everyone should know how to use these preventive tools. If you have a house fire, or in your home, homes are built now. If you see, we talk about crises, but say a car, it's built anticipating the potential for a crisis because it has an airbag and you wear seatbelts, right? In your home, it's built with smoke detectors. Do you also have a fire extinguisher in your home? And if you do, are you trained how to use it? And the members of your family who lives with you are trained, because the goal of it is to prevent a worst case scenario. And that's where training comes in. That's where preparation comes in. And, and if you look at the hospital model where we're trained how to use a code card, how to prevent a medical emergency, how to prevent a worst case scenario. In our daily lives, we can similarly do that by training It could be first aid with the Red Cross. It could be something, and train your children, train your family members. If something happens, you know to call 911, but still you know what to do
Right.
to save your life. And the kicker is knowing the signals. That is another thing. For
Yes.
instance, we teach in stroke alerts how to recognize the onset. And many people, and I've had personal friends too, who've had the signs of a stroke, didn't know they were having the signs of a stroke, and delayed or denied the symptoms that they're having, and suffer the worst outcome. Because in stroke, time is brain. So it's important, training is important. So know the early warning symptoms and get early intervention care then. That way you prevent a worst case scenario. So that's my emphasis: enriching our lives, enriching our community, empowering you with these tools to prevent worst case scenarios from happening to us.
So I'm going to pause for a moment, listeners, and just kind of summarize what Ruth has shared with us, her journey from childhood to where she is today, and how she grew up in a different culture, and now she's in this culture, how she started out in finance and banking, and now she's a nurse who has gone beyond just the career of being a nurse, but taking all that she has learned and moved it into an integrative health forum, and also written a book. So you have heard her giving some words about the book, insinuating without us actually saying anything about the book. So she has taken all of this experience and compiled it in a book, and now we specifically will ask her, what's the title of your book?
The title of my book is What Matters Most. And the subtitle is Strategies and Tools to Navigate Everyday Crises.
And how was that book born?
That book came about because we find that in our lives we are, especially as women, and I really primarily address our women folk, including our men as well, but because as women we take on a lot. We are busy in this, we're busy in that, we're busy, but are we really focused on what is most important? And it takes, I do include the benefit of prayer, so I will say it takes a moment of meditation and prayer and contemplation as you ponder your individual lives to see what is most important to me. Is it my relationship with God, my children, my family, focus on my health? We neglect our health a lot. We don't really take care of ourselves until a disease or a situation brings it front and center. And then we try and backpedal and try to recover and recoup, our health. Focus on your health. And once you have your center as your health, then you can expand and move outwards. In the airline industry, they say, put on your oxygen first. You cannot help trying to help someone else when you are impaired. You are not the best. So put on, and it took a doctor to say this to me, and I'll tell you and I'll share it. I was feeling fatigued. I was just tired. I was just feeling drained. And I thought he was going to write a prescription, and this is in the book. He took out his prescription pad and he wrote, "Me first." And he says, this is not selfish. This is self-care. You care for yourself, for your spiritual, your emotional, your physical, complete personhood, and then you are best able to help, those around you, those who rely on you for care and those you extend yourself to for care. So you asked, how was it born? It was born primarily out of my personal crises and family crises, with my children. And that is really what prompted it. And again, I had an aha moment, like I said. So here I am faced with a situation now that I have a young child that needed my care, but I had no support person around me. So I really had to take off to care for this child. And it presents a quandary now, because she has to be cared for. She's a minor, she has to be cared for. And it could not be done conjunctively with work. So I had to separate. And then, it brings you back to how was overcoming crisis modeled for you as a child? Mm-hmm. You see that? So and it turned out that I sat there and I had this moment that I really have to decide what is most important. Mm-hmm. What is most important to you at this point? Don't worry about what is going to be lost in the process. And often, too, God is really redirecting you through your crises to let you see a new paradigm, a new road, a new dimension, a new way to serve. Mm-hmm. And but first, you start with what you absolutely must do. Mm-hmm. What is absolutely most important. And then I realized I'm not unique. I'm not the only person going through these experiences. So, and then I realized that was what my dissertation was on. Mm. It was on crises. So I used the extracted information from that. Gotcha. My experiences growing up with how my parents overcome issues, and use this, along with other
for the
interviews
inspiration
and so on,
for the
right,
book.
For the inspiration for the book.
Any
great.
questions for Ruth on the book?
What was the hardest part of writing the book?
The hardest part about writing the book was being vulnerable. Mm. Yeah, a lot of us, we shield ourselves and our stories and our lives, and but then you realize by releasing it, you enrich someone else. Mm-hmm. You really do enrich and empower someone else and say, listen, you're going through this right now, but listen, you're not alone. There are others who have gone through it before you, so take courage in that. Take strength from someone else and say, how did that person get through that? Yeah. So you're not alone. And I think that realization that you're not alone in your struggles, in your crises, and struggles are unique to every one of us.
Yes.
So as you realize that we're a sisterhood, if I can call it that, we are a community of people, and as you allow yourself to that vulnerability to be released, you strengthen. You have now a community of people who are strengthened, right? And as I say, a healthy community, you're as healthy as your community. Exactly. Is really what because if you have in your community people who are impaired and sick and then that's not good. Mm-hmm. So if you build, each of us have a role, we all can to play. So and then you have a more joyous community.
Yes.
Have you been looking at our podcast? I have to ask because I see you've been using Be Empowered, Encouraged, and Enriched a lot.
Well, it would not be right for me to be coming on a podcast and not knowing.
I love it.
Yes, you do come. And I'm a prepared person.
Yes.
I believe in being prepared for, as you get into something, be prepared. Be prepared for life.
Well, and that's basically your book.
And that is my book.
Right?
Yes.
It's how to be prepared.
Yes.
To handle any situation that comes.
And do it with joy.
Yes.
Do it with hope. That is the kicker. Not just be overcome by the weight of, because when you're all going through our issues, it's a weight on us, it's a heaviness, it's a burden. But we want to be able to, each of us, take it from here and say, here are some different paths you can use. Here's some tools. You may choose to hammer the nail in with, you get the nail in with a hammer, or you have a power tool, or, different ways you can get from here to there. And then collectively achieve joy. Yes.
I have to ask. You're using words like hope and joy. So what path does your faith play? I know I'm opening a big topic. Keep it small, okay? What path does your faith play in this journey of your life?
My faith in this journey is big. It is central. And at the very beginning of the book, I say I incorporate my professional research, my personal experience, the experiences of others who've gone through, and your faith. And I'll tell you this, in my research, faith has been shown to really help in preventing mental health. We see a rise in mental health going on now. It is that intangible component that if you have a faith relationship, if you do have a faith, and we'll say faith in God, it helps to prevent suicide. It helps in ameliorating mental health issues and anxiety concerns and depression. Faith in God is an important thing. We tend to believe we are in control of everything. We're not. And crises, when it comes full center in your life, you will realize that there's more to your situation. There are things outside that you just simply cannot handle. Faith in God, and I do have a section in the book that directly addresses faith and the health benefits of having a faith in God.
Awesome.
Yes.
So you had a book launch recently.
Yes, I did.
Awesome.
I did. And that went well, praise God. And so the book is now out on Amazon. It's available on Amazon. Do get it, because in this book are a lot of tools, a lot of tips, a lot of strategies, a lot of just practical, everyday ideas that you can tailor to your personal situation. And I'll even include, like I mentioned earlier, that I use the integrative approach. So there's some integrative information, meaning natural remedies in the book. There are some survival strategies in the book. How would you handle a situation? We're in South Florida. South Florida is prone to hurricanes and floodings and so forth. There are tips and guidance, and I will always use reputable sources. There's Johns Hopkins, and there's reputable sources in the book. And there is a full reference disclosure in the back of the book of where some of this, especially information, comes from. Yes. So
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's been a joy having you on our podcast, Miss Ruth. This is all rich information. We all look forward to jumping in and devouring the practical tips you offer us in the book. And it's been a joy having you on our podcast. To our listeners, I just want you to pause for a moment and hear everything that Ruth shared with us today. The reality that we all go through crisis, the reality that we think we're in control, but we really are not. And so together, we use our strengths and our failures and our hurts and our challenges to help each other. And so until next time, consider these things and how you can work with us as we work with you so that you can be encouraged, enriched, and empowered. And as usual,
Please visit us at GWEnrichmentInc.com.